Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast on megatrends investing. I'm Nimesh Chandan, the CIO of Bajaj AMC. Today, actually, I'm taking the other side of the table where I'm asking questions to my colleagues here. I have with me Sorbh Gupta, who's our head of equity and fund manager for the Flexi Cap fund. He is the one who's running the fund on the megatrends investing style. And Bharat, who's our expert on mega trends investing, and he's also an associate fund manager with us. Welcome. Saurav, I'll start with you first. Mega trends investing. It's a big phrase. Uh, how do you put this in very simple layman terms to anyone?
Uh, very relevant question, Nimesh. Megatrends essentially are the changes around us, which has a potential to change how we live, how the society behaves, how economic cycles change, all of those things. And this could be not a 2 year, 3 year, 5 year time frame. This could be 10, 15, 20 years time frame. One simple example which everyone will relate to in terms of megatrends is the economic liberalization that happened in 1991 in India. That was one of the biggest megatrends that India saw, and we are seeing still changes happening because of those megatrends.
ये simple था. Okay. Why should an investor bother about it? Why should one be bothered whether they are invested in a mega trends investment fund?
Sure. Investment, as people think about it, 1 year, 3 year, it's not the real long term investment. In long term investments are investments for more than 5 year, 10 year, 15 year. And for that period, economic cycles do not matter much. It's the mega trends which drive earnings growth for companies, corporates, and that drives stock price returns over a period of time. That is why mega trend investing becomes extremely important for long term investing.
Fantastic. Bharat, this is an interesting subject for research, but it is also quite vast as we understand. Where do you start and how do you start in megatrends research?
So rather than trying to find out megatrends by themselves, what we try to do is we try to identify the sources which give rise to those megatrends. And these sources are what make a trend, a megatrend, or a fad. So what we have identified is a framework where we have identified six sources: technology, regulatory environment, economic formalization, nature, demography, and social behavior. So these are the broader frameworks and sources which give rise to megatrends. A particular megatrend may have one or more sources which kind of drives it, but you'll have at least one source which will drive these megatrends for a longer period of time.
So everything ultimately comes from these buckets that you identified. Any big changes that are coming from these buckets.
Exactly.
Uh, Saurabh, to you, once a mega trend is identified, how do you get down to picking stocks for the fund?
Okay. You're right, Timesh. Megatrends, as we discussed when we started the fund, first of all, we identify megatrends, then overlay on sectors. Once we have that overlays on sector, we quantify what kind of growth opportunities these megatrend can offer to these sectors. Then we look at businesses which are the biggest beneficiaries of these megatrends. Once we have identified that, we look at businesses in terms of their capability to grow, fund their growth through cash flows and balance sheet, their execution capabilities, and the business quality in terms of return ratios, and then put them in the portfolio, but not missing out the valuation part.
Oh, that's quite comprehensive actually, coming from both top-down side as well as the bottom-up side to get to the stock level which companies can benefit from them. Interesting. Bharat, in today's environment, what are the mega trends that are relevant for Indian investors, which an Indian investor can look to invest in?
So I would say rather than being academic about it, I would highlight maybe three of the most important. One would be consumption, which is a long-term mega trend. One is healthcare, pharma, and wellness all combined together, which is a longer term but also has a shorter term aspect to it. And then you have electrification, which also has domestic as well as overseas opportunity supporting.
Sort of once you get a mega trend identified from the research side, and on a bottom up basis, you look at some companies that can benefit from it. Does timing your entry into these companies, investing in these companies? Does it matter when you are taking a mega trend for 10 years and 15 years?
Oh, absolutely, Ramesh. That's a very important aspect of megatrend investing. Markets are efficient, but they are not omniscient. They do not know everything at the start of the thing. uh, Happening of a megatrend and recognition by the market of that megatrend are rarely happening together. There is always a time gap. And it is that time gap which an investor has to use, where they get businesses at a valuation that they want and at the stage that they want, so that they benefit the most out of those investing from the 3 to 5 year, 10-year perspective.
So even if you are in a way investing longer term, you have to look at where this mega trend is in terms of the right time of entry.
Oh, absolutely, Mish. That's a very important aspect. Definitely, the style is not growth at any price or quality at any price. That does not yield results. We have historically seen. How much is priced in and how much is yet to price in is a very important question one needs to ask once we get down to creation of portfolio and picking out stocks.
Excellent. So let me follow this up with one more related aspect. How much do valuations matter when you are investing in megatrends?
Valuation is a very important aspect of megatrend. Most of people think that megatrend investing is top-down investing. Just think about the megatrend, pick up a stock and put it in the portfolio. That does not work that way. Valuation is a very important aspect of how much price that one is paying for that businesses or those megatrends. The two things how we think about it. One, a good thing is to complete the research from a top down and bottom perspective, and then wait for our price, because markets at times can be myopic. There could be a bad quarter by the company which has a good 5-10 years window of high growth. That is an opportunity for investors like us to get into. Secondly, often a time markets do underestimate the growth potential of megatrends. And when that happens, optically stocks might look expensive and people would be fearful of getting into those stocks. But if you have identified the megatrend right, or quantified the megatrend of growth opportunity right, you will know that there's still huge opportunity left and the stock is in fact undervalued and not overvalued as optically it's looking like. Then it's a good opportunity to buy the stock. So one has to be careful, but valuation is a very, very important aspect of megatrend investor.
Okay. Bharat, this has been in news for last 1 or 2 years at least, that in India, one of the mega trend, which is artificial intelligence, in India, you simply don't have place to really participate in the AI mega trend. Is this correct, or do you have a different view on it?
I would not be too dismissive about India being either a winner or any country either being a winner or a loser. Uh, it is a mega trend because it has 5 year, 10 year, 15 year visibility. AI is a 5 layer cake. So you don't just have the models or the GPUs, you have the model layer, GPU, application, you have different layers. And ultimately, there are phases where each one plays out. The memory stock, which everybody now talks about. So we have seen that memory stocks, the way they rallied and the way they crashed. Memory was not required last year, but it was a phase where the memory stocks kind of rallied and now again have crashed. It doesn't mean that memories are not required next year. So it's a phase. We will have our play as well. But right now we are also looking at adjacent plays to AI. Maybe it's electrification and other aspects around that. I would rather not treat it as a day by day event and see this over a longer horizon. AI is continuously evolving, and to dismiss any one country or call another country a winner would probably be too early. We have seen how Chinese models have caught up to American models. So earlier, it was all American frontier labs and models which were at the forefront. It's true that we don't have our own frontier model, but there are other ways to play AI through the adjacent support infrastructure level. And we continue to address those requirements of domestic AI plays as well as overseas American AI plays.
If one were to say, what could be the main India AI adjacent plays? Can you name a few sectors or few areas that one can look at?
So, electrification and power are the clear support areas where not just Indian investors, even our American investors are playing AI through that. And in addition to that, we also have cooling support as well as connectivity or wiring and cables. which are also required in data centers, which directly support the AI place.
Excellent. Saurabh, to you now. Um, which are the areas in the last 3 years of the FlexiCap fund? Which are the areas where you made the best returns, or which have worked, the ideas that have worked very well for you in the last 3 years?
Which I love questions which uses my hindsight instead of my foresight. So last 3 years, two things that get me the best recall. One is the power equipment story that we played. As Bharat also pointed out, this was one story that we identified early on, quantified early on, the overlay on sectors, the power uses that it go up because of AI. Early on, if you remember our discussions, that if one unit of search on Google, one search on Google requires 1 unit of electricity, one search on ChatGPT requires 10 unit of electricity. That was the statement about 2.5, 3 years we used to discuss. We identified those capital equipment names, and the world was woefully short of capital equipment suppliers. And some of these Indian companies were really well poised. We identified one of the names. Nimesh, you would remember when we first looked at it, it had an operating margin of 4%. Right now, it's working at an operating margin of 28%. That's the kind of pricing power these companies have got, and our portfolio benefited out of that. That was one thing that I remember, and that's helped the portfolio. Second is what we identified as Biosecure Act, which was the changes on the US company, pharma companies' ability to outsource contract research and manufacturing to China. I remember our discussions. It was a $40 billion opportunity for China. US imports from China is $40 billion, and India's largest CRAMS company is less than $1 billion in revenues. That's kind of opportunity that it throwed up, and we picked up right names, and those stocks have done really well for us. So these are the top things that I remind right now.
So power and CRAM CDMO, that is,
Absolutely.
which has worked excellent for. Okay, Bharat, these two mega trends were identified early and invested in early. Do you think there is more juice left in them, or do you think it is now coming to an end, or the mega trend is flattening out?
No, I think if you see from the AI perspective, the capex the hyperscalers are putting in, it's $800 billion estimated this year. Next year, it is expected to be around 1.2 trillion as of now. So, and even after that, we don't know, and it is not going to crash. So these mega trends, they have, especially the power equipment cycle, they have the support of the capex, ongoing capex, announced capex, and it's not just an AI play directly. There's electrification. There is new lines which are being laid in US. There is replacement because the electrical equipment and transformers are above their life in US, and they also have Indian electrification journey to support them. So these names, we believe that they still have a long way to go. On the pharma side, we are just getting started. So Biosecure Act, after much delay, got signed into a law, and then some of these names were added to the banned list in US. So right now it is just a beginning, and there's a 7-year grandfather tenure where the companies also have the opportunity to look elsewhere. We are just getting started on the CDMO journey, is what we believe.
Okay, so growth rate should continue or be higher than what other sectors are doing.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, Saurabh, we spoke about all the good things. Now let's talk about a little risk also. Mega trends investing. What risks should one watch out for as an investor here? And if you can also share, how do you avoid these risks or pitfalls of mega trends investing?
Sure, Ramesh. Risks are always at the top of the mind for any portfolio manager or any investor. We need to keep these in mind. Top three things in terms of risks that comes to my mind is number one, wrongly estimating the potential of the megatrend, or not timely revising it or relooking it and how megatrend is folding up, because it's a 10, 15, 20-year journey. It's very important to relook at every step whether what we envisage at the start of the journey, it is playing out that way, especially in a world which is very dynamic and very evolving in nature, both in terms of regulatory and technology changes and other changes. So that is one thing that one needs to keep in mind. Second thing is how much of that is priced in. We in a previous question we highlighted the recognition, the emergence of a megatrend and the recognition of a megatrend rarely happen together. But once it's happened together, market is fully recognized it in terms of valuations, then maybe it's not a great time to buy into those names. So one has to be careful in the pitfalls of buying at the wrong price and everything is priced in that is second. Third, one has to be careful in mind that we are running a mutual fund. It's a public money portfolio. We are not a VC. So essentially, it's very important that those megatrends reflect in companies' cash flows. We are not here to fund the losses of companies as first or early stage VCs are. While we look at megatrends, it's very important that cash flows of companies eventually come up and reflect those megatrends that we are envisaging. So these three things are on the top of our mind when we are looking at investing and valuing the portfolio in terms of risk.
That's an interesting point, actually. To look at it from a mutual fund investor's eyes rather than a private equity or venture capital. But Bharat, if I were to ask you, which are the mega trends that you are identifying as very fresh mega trends or something that you have just identified as beginning to unfold?
This is an interesting one. So physical AI is one which where we are early and where we also have direct place for catering to physical AI. So previously these were called humanoid robots or robotics, but now people have come to call them as physical AI, where the thinking is being done using AI and LLM, and you have hardware which is required, and a lot of our companies are supplying one or other or more components to this. So physical AI is one where we are excited about. Semiconductor is another area where currently we have limited place in the listed area, but I think we'll eventually have, and whatever we have, we'll make good use of that.
Just to add to what Bharat is saying, people would be surprised of how Indian companies are thinking about physical AI. And we have been meeting a few companies. In fact, one of the companies in the portfolio where we met recently, the top management, the way they've described how things will happen and how they are prepared for it, most of the people will have not fully appreciated Indian companies' ability to participate in this. Most of the people do not have an appreciation of Indian manufacturing sector. This is one space we are excited about, how physical AI will happen, how Indian companies can be a global supplier to this physical AI opportunity that is emerging.
Thank you, Saurabh, and thank you for adding some excitement. So, Saurabh, the next question to you. Are there any mega trends which were identified, but you found it difficult when you wear a fund manager's hat to invest in them?
Uh, Yes, Nimesh, and this is the most difficult part for a fund manager because he knows that on a top-down perspective, opportunities are huge, but he's unable to identify right opportunities to put them in the portfolio. One thing that comes on the top of my mind: 3 years, the megatrend has played out beautifully, but we have not been able to identify it or not played it nicely from a portfolio perspective. Is the defense sector. Now, defense opened up for private sector. I think government has taken a lot of good steps to expand defense opportunities in India. But from a bottom-up perspective, we have faced a few challenges. First challenge is the risk that I highlighted about megatrend, but not reflected in cash flows. Lot of these companies in the defense side, what we have seen is that have working capital of 300, 400 days. They don't get money on time. That means that growth is not getting reflected in the cash flow, and their ability to grow continuously because they're not generating cash flows becomes difficult. So we cannot buy into those names. Second is some of these names which are good are priced to perfection. Then again, that risk of emergence of a mega trend and recognition by the market has happened too quickly, so we have not been able to participate in those, but we have wait for our price, and we love to, we believe it's still 10-15 years journey for this mega trend, and we'll definitely find out some good names to buy into the portfolio. We have participated in a few, but we believe the opportunities could be more for more of them. We'd like to love to have more such stocks in the portfolio.
No. Okay. Uh, I have now a few rapid fire questions for both of you. I'll direct them as they come. Okay. Uh, First, Bharat, which megatrend or which theme are you most bullish on?
I'm bullish on long-term consumption and medium-term pharma and healthcare, along with electrification.
Okay. And which would be the theme that you're most bearish on?
I think for the time being, IT services in general is something to be cautious about.
Even at this price?
Yeah, I think even at this price.
Okay, cool. Saurabh, quick outlook on the market.
Positive. Underlying improvements happening. Very optimistic on the markets, bearing whatever is happening around in the Middle East, but we are very positive about markets.
Out of the universe of large cap, mid cap, or small cap, which will give return?
Large caps offer valuation comfort, but growth comfort is in small caps. So I think small cap, a decent small cap at decent valuation, gives you the returns in next 3 to 5 years.
See, in a way, you are selling flexi cap. Okay. Bharat, for which are the areas where you see mega trends, but they are rapidly changing and quite volatile?
AI, changing by the hour.
Okay, lovely. And which are the slow burn and steady growth kind of?
So there's different tones of steady growth. So urbanization is very slow, very long term. Then you have consumption, which is faster, long term. And then you have pharma, healthcare, wellness, which is even faster than these two.
Saurabh, better approach, top down or bottom up research?
A combination of both, as represented in a flexi cap megatrend portfolio.
Oh, lovely. That brings us to the close of this interesting podcast we did on mega trends investing. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this conversation, and happy investing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.